the title of your talk is Science Writing in the Time of Shakespeare. Do you think scientists were influenced by actors, or actors were influenced by scientists at all? Was there any kind of communication between them?
It's very difficult to actually identify any direct communication between them. There are certain intriguing family connections between Thomas Digges and William Shakespeare, although we don't know that they definitely knew each other. But what I think is definitely true to say is that the dramatists of the time, Shakespeare, not just Shakespeare but also Marlowe and Kyd, were really breaking the boundaries of what had been permissible within drama in this period, and at the same time people like Digges and Harriet and some of the others that I mentioned were breaking down the old classical ideas about how the world worked, not just that the Earth was not at the centre of the universe after all, but all kinds of other ideas that had been essentially laid down by Aristotle and then taught slavishly by medieval scholars ever since. They were beginning to question, and I think it's this spirit of questioning that really led to such a flowering of dramatic and poetic art, but also to a flowering of practical, sort of goal-directed mathematics and science. I suppose it was surprising to discover that there were people, I mean, one example who I spoke about today was Robert Norman, who discovered through sheer experiment why it is that a magnetic needle, the fact that a magnetized needle, such as a compass needle, actually dips. It doesn't sit parallel. If you put it in water, it'll dip, and the dip changes depending on where you are on Earth. And this was something that navigators were to discover as they sailed all around the Earth, particularly in the polar regions. But he sat down at home and made a series of experiments to investigate this, and then wrote a book that set out the experiments and set out how you could actually do them yourself. And that's a practice that we tend to assume wasn't really happening much before the middle of the 17th century. So to find it happening towards the end of the 16th century was certainly a surprise to me.